Part of the reason that we end up getting into the bad shape that we're in, and I'm not just talking about fitness, but I'm just talking about like dealing with pain, dealing with ailments and stuff, is because we just we kind of tolerate it. We have this kind of toleration kind of mindset, and w- I'm convinced that for us to really be able to be the best that we can be, you kind of have to have like a no nonsense, like I can't, that can't be me kind of mindset. So case in point, so for me, so I know one thing for myself, I'm working out a lot and you know different kind of things, like that. I'm doing those things, but one thing I realize is that I've been dealing with some joint aches, like like my recovery not being quite what it needs to be. So like, being painful sometimes, like to bend my knees, especially like when I go into a squat or something like that, or even like some shoulder pain that comes and goes, or stuff I believe is related to me working out, but like just kind of having like a soreness and a lingering pain that I've allowed myself to tolerate probably for about the past year. And like I said, it comes and goes, but I just realized that I've been like, well, I'm able to function for the most part, so whatever, just kind of ignoring that. Another thing that I've tolerated is me not reaching other certain health and fitness goals that I've had. So, like one goal that I've had is I personally want to beat the 5K record of a former coworker of mine. So maybe within the past 5 to 10 years, one of my former coworkers who retired not long after he challenged me, he mentioned that he ran a 5K in about 21 minutes and 24 seconds or something like that in his prime. So this is when he was maybe in his mid 20s. And I had not run one that fast, and I still haven't. But he told me at that time, because I was definitely kind of approaching my mid 30s then. He told me, "Oh no, you're not gonna be able to do it. You too old now." And so I, of course I, it was all friendly kind of banter and whatnot. But I was like, I can do that. And even now, even though I'm quite a bit older than he was, I know that I can do that. I'm not a huge fan of 5Ks, um, but I'm also not opposed to them. I like doing one every now and then. And so, but I've allowed myself to not reach that goal or to surpass that goal. Why? Because I keep on training too late. Like for example, the main 5K I run is in September. And a lot of times I end up training maybe 2 months out. So starting in July, really starting to train, and so then I get in good shape, but not great shape. But I've tolerated that because I keep on allowing myself to kind of be lazy and to not get into routines that I know that will help me to go toward that. Partially because you kind of don't feel like it in the moment, and then you finally get that place where it's like, well, I better do something. Another thing that I want to do is I want to be able to run a 400-meter dash. That's one loop around the 400-meter track. In my previous goal was under a minute. Um, I really want to do, I'll say under 50, we'll say under 57 seconds. So, like when I was running track in high school, 400-meter dash would have been something I would have wanted to do, but I didn't do it because, the coaches kind of put me in distance events, which I definitely didn't like distance. But I thought that because other dudes are faster than me, that this is more so what I need to do. And I didn't really have the mindset or even the knowledge to really advocate for myself and the things that I actually wanted to do. Not until I was almost about to graduate high school. But I won't get into all that. But anyway, once again, I've allowed myself to not reach my goals because just being lazy, is in regard to like really pushing for them. And so I say that to say this, y'all. When is it when is it like enough is enough time? Like when is that? Like for you, it may be, you've had, weight loss is always a big one. It may be that you kind of envision in your mind this version of yourself, maybe back how you were in high school or some other time in your life when you were in tip top shape. Um, but you've just kind of tolerated it and you've kind of had attempts, but your attempts have always kind of fallen short. They've always fallen short, and then you've essentially, not that you haven't been disappointed about it, but you kind of accept this as like an infinite loop in your life. Or you've developed ailments and pains and things like that. And they kind of, you just woke up one day and just kind of realized you were dealing with this stuff, but you haven't really done anything to really combat that stuff. But when is enough enough? When are you, and I'm saying this because I'm saying it to myself as well, like when are we going to actually realize that, you have this life here. Let's be honest, it doesn't last forever, and even hitting some of the goals that you want to hit will actually can improve your life from the standpoint of health, but then even also from like you having that sense of accomplishment. That does wonders, for your soul, and so like, when is enough enough? When are you going to stop tolerating it? When are you going to stop seeing this as your lot in life? Because nothing is like that. I heard, and I actually talked to my oldest child about this a lot. I heard, um, uh, what's his name? Alex Hormozy. He's like a big kind of like business guy. He was talking about how we tend to have a lot of shoulds that we say. This should be that way. This should be that way. That should be this way, whatever. And like, for example, I think he said that his dad would tell him, the different things he should do with his life and whatnot, and had his whole mindset. But he kind of realized, like, hold on a second. He said, like, then he kind of realized that the earth is just this little dot in just the vast, vast, unending universe. He said, there are no shoulds. There are no shoulds. There's nothing that is impossible. Everything that has been, for example, created by man was something that somebody else thought couldn't happen. But the person who actually created the thing believed that it was possible. The Bible has a scripture where it says all things are possible to him who believes. I believe Jesus was talking to a guy who was like asking Jesus to help, but he was like, please help if you can. And he was like, basically, what do you mean if I can? All things are possible to him who believes. All things are possible to him who believes. And I think that, especially in the church, we say that, but we don't even really believe it. Like, all things are possible. Literally, it's not possible if you just don't believe. So, like, I don't care what you're dealing with. I don't care what your goal is, how long it's been, as far as like you accomplishing it or not. When I see dudes who are like in their 50s and 60s and they're doing sprints at the same speed as high schoolers, come on, man. A lot of people will say like that kind of stuff is not possible. I even remember um one time showing my grandma the lady Ernestine Shepherd, she was formerly the world's oldest bodybuilder according to Guinness Book of World Records. And she was lean, had a six pack, all this kind of stuff. And my grandma was kind of like, yeah, she kind of need to sit down somewhere. She's too old to be doing all that stuff. And so that was what my grandma believed. But like Miss Ernestine, and I love my grandma. But Miss Ernestine Shepherd, she believed for something. And so that's why she got the results she got. And so I'm preaching to myself, but I want you to hear this too. If you can find a way to believe and to nurture that belief, it's possible for you to escape the pain and ailments and all that stuff. It's possible for you to lose that weight. It's possible for you to be better in your 40s, 50s, 60s than you ever have been, as far as like your health, your vigor, your stamina, your fitness. It's possible. But if you will accept that, if you will believe that, Believing means, and have faith for it. That means you not only are you are grabbing onto that as truth, but you're also moving in that direction. It's not just like a mental assent. You're moving at that direction. Then you can do it. And so with that said, this is what I'm doing, man. It's what I'm doing. So like I have my goal to run a 400 and under, um, in 57 seconds or under. I have a goal to, run a 5K in, um, you know, under 21 minutes and 24 seconds. I say under 21:20 because I know that'll beat my former coworker's personal record. Okay. Well, what are your goals? What are your goals? What are you going to believe for now? I need to hear some faith on here. Put it in the comments, y'all. Have a good one. As we get older, it becomes increasingly important to maintain and build muscle. Muscle helps you burn fat, stay mobile, and can contribute to longevity. However, many people have no idea how to work out to build muscle. My mini workout series on Patreon provides you with my body weight mini workout video library. These workouts use little to no equipment, which means that you can do them in the privacy of your own home. They start at beginner level and progress from there to ensure you continue to see results. Every workout is a full body workout, hitting chest, back, legs, and glutes, as well as other muscles in between. Become a patron today and receive access to my series of mini workouts, plus access to a digital copy of my book, 8 Weeks to Transform Your Diet and Your Health. By combining the workouts with healthy diet changes, as outlined in my book, you'll definitely be on your way to weight loss, improved health, and visible results. Join me at patreon.com/SeanB2B Fitness today.